Okay, so the big question is, should Prince Harry just get on a plane, pack his bags, and go home to his daddy? Because it seems like the US doesn't want him and or the UK. So is it time for him to go back? Will he go home? Should he go home? I ask this because there are two things going on right now that make us go, Number one, there is a lawsuit against him that we've been hearing about, but it's ongoing now, which has to do with his visa application and whether it was legal or illegal, and whether he should have mentioned that he had done drugs or not. Simultaneously, this is the first time that Harry and Meghan were uninvited to an event. And this is the king's birthday party. So the reason why I bring it up, should he go home? It seems like there's just a lot of confusion because he has been going to the Trooping of the Color, which is like a big birthday party for the monarch, since he's been old enough to go. So anyhow, those are the questions. This is an interactive live tonight. We like to take your questions and your comments and introduce you and have you come on with your questions. So I am Deanna from Hot for History. I'm here, Florida, Central Valley of Illinois. Please do subscribe to my channel. I'm going to check and see where you guys are calling in from or coming in from. So we have people here from New Mexico, from I think Harry is still in Montecito, but we have people from all over. And the big question is, like, we were excited. I think we were excited to get some royals on this side. We were kind of encouraging him and Meg, and we're like, yay, come to America. But it became this what show. It became so dramatic, and it's not stopping. It's like the gift that keeps on giving, but I'm being sarcastic. Okay, let's see. From Jacksonville, from Texas, from Pensacola, from Michigan. We're from all over the place. Okay, in case you missed this, the big questions, what we're going to talk about tonight are Prince Harry and Meghan Markle being uninvited to King Charles's birthday, the Trooping of the Color. Technically, his birthday isn't until the fall, but they have two birthdays for the monarch. The official one is this Trooping of the Color one, where apparently he's going to be getting on a horse, which is the first time a monarch has been on a horse since 1986, when the queen was like, I think I'm done riding on the horse during these events. So we're going to talk about that right now. I want to get your opinion. Should they have been invited? They keep turning things down and snubbing the king. So it seems like now the king has snubbed them, which is not a good sign. So I said, should you go home to daddy? Because I personally think, honestly, that Harry did not get the proper parenting from his father. And I don't think that Harry's all to blame. I think Charles is not necessarily, the best. I'm just saying. I don't think it was all that nurturing. I don't think that's reason for him to have, done, like gone all out and just spill all the beans for the world to see. But there's always, even when there's something twisted, there's always a little bit of truth. Okay, so let's see what you guys have to say before I get on to reading this. Hey, David. I have heard in the tabloids, although I don't know how much I believe it, and that's pretty much, I'm not even yet reading the rest, but that's kind of how we all are, like, hey, I've read it, but is it true? That the King Charles and William are trying to convince Harry to divorce Meghan. But I don't even know if they're talking. You know what I mean? Like, if they were talking, I would think that would make sense, but I don't know. I have heard tons of divorce rumors like you have, but whether or not it's coming from William and Charles, although I don't doubt that they would probably be all for that. But I just don't think they're talking. I think the last time was like, hey, we don't even want to be around Harry and talk to him because we don't know what the heck he's going to be saying. So I'm glad you brought it up, though, because it is in my mind like, I wonder what's happening, because they're not seen together as much anymore. They're not seen together. And again, for those of you who are like, why are we dissing them? No, we're just royal gossiping. We're not saying that anything is true or not true. We're doing what the rest of the world is doing because we're curious, because we had hopes and dreams that these two monarchs would be like, I don't know, Jackie O and Jack. Like, I mean, it was exciting in the beginning. It was fun, and then it just what hit the fan, and we're kind of like, okay, that didn't work out. Let's return them. Let's return the merchandise back from where it belonged. Let's see. Before I read this, let's get your comments. They should be uninvited. The royal family doesn't need another drama from them. And that's why I think the king probably was just like, like some people say that this headline is not true, that they weren't snubbed, that it's just that Harry and Meghan just said no. Like, but there's a lot of people that say they weren't even invited. They weren't even invited. I think he might. Oh my gosh. Hey, I don't know. Princess Anne is still on her horse. And I think the queen rode her horse into her 80s. So I don't know, but that's a really funny comment. That does worry me a little bit. Sorry for all the questions. It's okay. Ask any questions. But did they ditch the queen's funeral along with the other? No, they were at the queen's funeral, which was good, but a lot of tension. Did I hear about the UFO that crashed? So I did hear about that, but we're not talking about that tonight. I did see some pictures too. This stuff fascinates me. Should we do like a UFO meets royalty, like kind of a thing? I would be curious to hear more about that. Did you guys hear about the UFO in Las Vegas? Not to be all, shiny objects from all points of view, but that's kind of how we roll here. Hi from New Mexico. Okay, so Prince Harry and family is definitely invited. Okay, Woodstock, to his father's birthday, but he and his wife won't have a balcony appearance or a carriage ride, so they are choosing not to go because it won't benefit them. Okay, let's break this down, because there are, some are like, oh, they're definitely invited, but they don't get on the balcony, they don't want to go. And then others are like, oh no, they got snubbed. Let's just read, not that any of this really tells us the truth, but let's try to get to it. Okay, were they snubbed? This is from page 6. I love reading page 6 because it's so gossipy. It starts with, are you ready for this? How clever. Don't let them eat cake. Prince Harry and Meghan Markle have reportedly not received an official invitation to attend King Charles III's birthday parade next week amid the Duke of Sussex's ongoing trial against Mirror Group newspapers. Harry, 38, and Markle, 41. At what point do they stop telling ages? I've always wondered. Have not been asked by the British royal family to attend Charles' Trooping of the Colours celebrations on Saturday, sources told the Daily Mail columnist Richard Eden in a story published Monday. Okay, so Woodstock, they're saying that they were invited. They were not invited. Oh my gosh, I just lost page 6 for a second. Oh, I hate when that happens. Okay, come on now. So then it says, I'm afraid that the reflection of the state of relations at the moment is not good, a source says. Well, duh. This reportedly marks the first time the red-headed royal, oh my gosh, they're so clever, this keeps bouncing, has not been invited or a part of the Trooping of the Color. And it's the first time as monarch that King Charles gets to do this. And it says Harry's strange relationship with the 74-year-old. Why do we keep having to get the ages? I don't get it. But anyhow, it's a thing that we all do. Seemed to be cordial when the redheaded royal attended Charles' coronation ceremony on May 6th. While Harry wasn't granted an official role at the event and was relegated to the 3rd role, Charles's youngest son and wife were more than welcome to attend. The Duchess of Sussex notably skipped the coronation and stayed home with her and Harry's 2 kids, Prince Archie and Lilibet, to celebrate the son's birthday, which, by the way, none of us saw anything about Archie's birthday, except I did see that a local merchant sent a bike over. And then it says, while Harry traveled across the pond to the coronation stag, he swiftly popped a U-turn back to Montecito, except we heard he didn't go back to Montecito and he went to some kind of hotel. Tensions seem to be higher than ever between Harry and the royal family members as the continued battle in court, blah, blah, blah. Tabloids would routinely publish articles about me. This is him saying that tabloids would routinely publish articles about me that were often wrong, but interspersed with snippets of truth, which I now think were most likely gleaned from voicemail interception and or unlawful information gathering. Okay, so the big question, I'm not reading the whole thing, is Is the king mad at him mainly because this mirror group lawsuit? Like, what's going on? What's going on? Okay, so I think they talk through their people. Okay, so Woodstock's saying they were invited. Other people are saying no. I'm saying I don't think they talked to each other. David had a great point that he heard through the grapevine that possibly Charles and William are trying to talk him into divorcing Meghan, but that would assume that Harry would be on board, because if he's having that conversation at all and not going, screw you for even bringing it up, then that would mean that he's kind of on board and entertaining the idea. But I'm not so sure about that. I just don't know if they talk, but I think they talk through their people, which is an appropriate, observation. Okay. Why would you invite someone that is deliberately trying to make your life miserable? And King Charles might not be perfect, but the two of them used to be close. That is a really good point. And you know what? Honestly, he isn't perfect, but I will say the one thing that he has done, he's been extremely loving, patient, and kind to his son during this whole thing. He has been like, even though he got upset with the ink on his fingers, he's been extremely patient, in my opinion. Like, don't you guys agree? Like, let me see what David has to say, because I think he's kind of nodding his head with what I said. King Charles is not a mean person and loves Harry. Yeah, his son is always invited home. Okay, I would probably think that that was more in line with his character as well, Woodstock. But we will see. The official birthday falls in June, so we can usually expect good, but not scorching hot weather for the guards or animals. We are just hoping that we don't get any more fainting with those awesome guys. Okay. All right. So, let's see. By the way, I love your necklace. Oh, thank you. The royal women ride side saddle, so more stressful. That would be really hard. Hey, I'm curious, Brian, because one of my favorite places is Windsor. Like, is Trooping of the Color in Windsor, or is it like from Buckingham Palace? Like, where is it? Give me some information. Okay. Personally, I think his title should be stripped and DNA done on kids, and Harry and kids removed from line of succession. But King Charles' opinion is different from mine. He loves Harry very much. Okay, so I think Woodstock is bringing this up because what has happened in the past with royal babies, let's call them royal babies, is that there are witnesses, right? There's witnesses, and typically, they do like the whole DNA, and there's witnesses, and then they can prove the thing, and yada yada. So that's why I think he's bringing it up. And then as far as them being stripped, I think that was like having to do with Parliament making a decision for that. I don't think King Charles can just do that at all. I know that if I was in Sussex, I might be a little upset by that. Okay. Neil Sean just posted that they are invited, and he posts facts. I watch him a lot too. So, okay. So royals make their money on the tabloids, and that's hard on the tabloids. Yeah. I don't know. Do they make, I think it's their job to be in the public eye, to kind of keep having a draw to London, the Sun and the Guardian always print. Like, listen, I'm not saying that I believe any of this, but there's always a little bit of truth and then a little bit of exaggeration. Okay, so it could result in the monarch instructing a divorce. Okay, it could result in the monarch instructing a divorce if they split and squabbling starts that damages the monarchy. Okay, that I don't understand. Well, okay. I think the couple were invited, whoever, maybe with boundaries. They don't like those. I think that Charles didn't know how to help the boys, but I do think he tried. I believe King Charles is making up for it. Yeah, I'm glad you said that, because I don't know if there's like a boilerplate for what to do when you're a royal, like then he was Prince of Wales. You have kids. You've divorced the future, which would be the future Queen of England, and their mother. You're trying to figure out what to do with the kids, not only through the divorce, but now the kids are grieving the death of their mother, while at the same time you have a relationship with the woman that you've been cheating on. Like, I don't know if he could have done. I mean, it was a hot mess. It was a hot mess. And Harry did deal, and Harry and William both dealt with the fallout from that. So I agree with you. I think he probably tried, but there's no way it could have been good. It just couldn't. So all right, so I'm going to read this about, okay, the lawsuit in America now. Okay, so apparently what's happening, the Heritage Foundation, which is a think tank and also, standing for like conservative values in America, are suing the Department of Homeland Security for what they consider showing favor to Prince Harry. Now, personally, I don't think this is as much of an attack on Harry as it is that they're trying to get an official government office to provide evidence, because we're having issues in America with the whole immigration thing. It's a hot mess at the border and everything. So, but I do think they're using Harry as a scapegoat. So there's this lawsuit. Do I think that he'll ever get ousted from America? Not really, but it does bring up something interesting. And do we think that he lied? And I don't think for a second, though, that he would have filled out this paperwork on his own, because, yeah. So yes. And this is what I'm talking about. Okay. Cause I didn't see the other comments, but I'm just pulling that one up. That's exactly what I'm talking about, is that, but they're suing DHS. So the people that they're suing, that's supposed to give them the information, they're supposed to give them the information for the Freedom of Information Act as well, is saying no, because of, they want to keep things anonymous or whatever, or, confidential. So let me read this. It says the Department of Homeland Security has rejected the request by Heritage Foundation to expedite and Freedom of Information Act request by the think tank for the release of the immigration records of the Duke of Sussex. DHS director wrote in a letter that to the extent records exist, this office does not find a public interest in disclosure sufficient to override the subject's privacy interest. Okay, so there's a conflict here, because they're saying, hey, this is privacy, it's private, but we're also having some issues with the government agencies not always kind of going with what the law is saying. However, in this case, I think it's a gray area. It's like, do they have to or not? So this is going to need to be escalated to another judge or something, or another court. So Heritage lawyer told the paper that the reply from the DHS shows an appalling lack of transparency by the Biden administration. The Department of Homeland Security efforts to stonewall the Heritage Foundation's Freedom of Information request are unacceptable, and we will be contesting their position. We expected to fight every step of this case to federal court, and will continue to press for transparency. So what's happening is that this lawsuit with Harry, and I don't think he's concerned much about it, but I think it's just like an extra thing like that he's dealing with. So could he be? I mean, some people are like, this is serious. I think most people are kind of like, I don't think that, he's married to an American, he has American children, but they do need to look back and see, hey, what's going on, right? So let me go pick up the questions that I didn't see before. If Harry and Meghan divorce, the kids go with Harry because legally the king has. Yeah, but the thing is that they're not in the UK. They're not under that, like they're in the US now. So and not only that, but we have different laws in different states. And California is going to be very it's going to be all about her at that point. So I know that the king has, that may be why she hasn't brought the kids back there. I don't know, but I don't think that what you said necessarily applies in America, but you're absolutely right that technically it does apply if they're in the UK. However, it's an old law from like the 1600s about the monarch having custody of his grandchildren. And usually they apply that for the children that are going to be heirs, but his kids are kind of close. They're not that far down the line. Harry's, I think, number 4 at this point. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then, his kids are 6 and 7. So they are really close in the line. So anyhow, let's talk about, okay, so let's see what you say. The whole visa thing is nonsense. His life is an open book. Also, the US government can issue a visa to anyone for any reason if they really want to. Yeah, it seems like these lawsuits are just all around him all the time. So I think that I think it doesn't matter if you're liberal or conservative, or like they say in the UK, Republican or a monarchist. It's kind of like one of those things where you're like, what? Like, just because he admitted, like, that would disqualify like 90% of the people trying to come to America. Just saying. Okay, Trooping of the Color takes place as a parade through the streets around Buckingham Palace, and then the display is on Horse Guards Parade, a huge parade, ground square used by the household cavalry. Okay, got it. So they're not in my favorite place, which is Windsor. That's my favorite place. It's about the drug use. Yes. Okay, one child is born in the U.S. Oh, that's true. Sorry. One child is born in the U.S. That would be Lily. And then, of course, Archie was born in the U.K., but they've been here forever. For them, for kids, it's like, yeah. Okay. You stated, okay, so let's say, so Woodstock's saying, I agree. You stated that perfectly. I do believe he tried his best. Recollections may vary, which is what the Queen said. We are seeing a lot of that, even in his book, was lies. Hard to believe anything here. And that is the problem. It's like his credibility is so off. Like, it's so hard to feel like, okay, wait, that's true. No, because it's like one thing or the other. And the thing about his lawsuit, I know we're not talking about that necessarily, but the lawsuit that's in the UK is that he was like, oh, I don't really have evidence. I just sort of, that's what I'm here for. What? You're supposed to have evidence. But again, there are several other people testifying, and the case in the UK won't be done, at least that one. And then he has a few after that. And then he has the US lawsuit. I mean, I would say just kick back, Harry. Live off of your money. Don't spend so much money on these lawsuits. As far as I know, America and the UK have extradition agreements that include custody cases. So the US could, I don't know. I mean, I think you're right, but I don't think that Charles would go that far unless it got nasty. It could get nasty. Like, unless it was Harry, like, yo, I want my kids. Like, then, and I'm reconciling with the King of Kings. Sorry, he's not the King of Kings, but I'm reconciling with him. I mean, then it could get nasty and people could be pulling a lot of strings, and that could make it hard for Meghan. But I think if that happened, everybody would be upset. People would be very, very upset, and it would not be a good scene. Okay, so the Queen ordered the divorce of Charles and Diana when their marriage got to the point of no reconciliation. Ooh, I forgot about that. Okay, so you're saying that he could, but that was a different situation. They were both in the UK. They were both in UK. They were both UK citizens. This is a totally different thing. Kind of like apples and oranges or whatever, but it's a very sensitive thing. However, if the kids were taken, the media would twist the story to make Meghan look like a victim. That is true. Okay, I don't believe King Charles would ever use those powers for the grandkids. I don't either. Especially today in 2023, that wouldn't look good on the monarchy or the king itself. I don't think so either. Okay, so Princess Diana couldn't file for divorce. She had to ask the Queen for permission. Okay. Yeah, I remember that. I remember that scene in one of the whatevers. But okay, so I'm sorry if you guys hear my doorbell ringing. I don't know. Somebody's trying to get into my house. So DHS denied request. We already discussed that. And then this is the same thing. Same old, same old. So at the end of the day, here's what I'm thinking. They're talking about there's rumors of divorce. Again, it's just rumors. Nobody knows. It's just everybody chirping, right? Then there's the whole thing that Is he or is he not on the outs with his dad? Was he or was he not invited? Was he or was he not invited? Some are like, it's against Charles's character. He's consistently including them even in pictures and literature. So for him not to invite him would be totally out of character. But there's a lot of outlets that are saying he did not invite him this time. So there's that. Then there's the whole thing where, well, he could also get kicked out. He could also get kicked out of the United States. So whether or not that's true. So anyhow, that's why I was like, hey, it made me think, can there be a reconciliation? I think with Charles, there could definitely be a reconciliation. I think that's all he wants. But I also feel like I personally have not seen much humbling or much transparency and true like accountability from Harry. Like we never realized until all of this how entitled he was. He's always been our favorite. He's always been, the kind of, out of the box person that we all liked. We liked his little wild thing. At least I did. I guess I'm not speaking to everybody. I loved that about him. He made the monarchy real. That's why we were excited about him marrying Meghan, them doing something totally different, but they didn't know how to negotiate and be able to create true transformation means that you have to fight for it within those confines. So if they wanted to, I believe they could have carved out an amazing situation for themselves where they still would have had a lot of freedom, maybe not as much as they do now, but they still could have done something incredible to serve the people in England and even around the world. And it could have helped Charles to accomplish what he says he wants, which was change, and to kind of have more of a youthful vibe and more vision for the future. Now with change and people changing things, it can always sound easier than it is, but it's always like a battle. And that's what we're seeing. We're seeing this battle in the monarchy. So I didn't mean to go off on a tangent, but well, he is a prince, so of course he's entitled. Yeah. But I don't know. I feel like especially with him, it's like, I don't know. I'll just have to say rather than I personally didn't see it as much until the whole let's leave and be with Meghan and let's spill our guts. Let's say everything. Like I didn't notice it as much. And even with everybody he's suing and I just don't see much of him going, yeah, maybe I shouldn't have done that. Yeah, that was a mistake. Oh, we messed up there. Like it just is more like it's everybody's fault. I'm the victim. And I don't like seeing that from Harry. I want to see him be contrite a little bit. And I would like to see a reconciliation with him and his dad. I think with William, it's going to be harder. Okay, Brian, what do you say? There is a requirement to preserve royal bloodlines internationally. I don't believe an order will be used if they are surrogate kids, as they could never take the throne under the UK law. So if they're surrogate though, and let's say they're still biologically, their kids, they would still be a bloodline. So that would still be the case. Unless they're saying the very fact that somebody else carried the child, even though could have been from Meghan and Harry, even if there was a surrogate. Now, if there was somebody else's egg, that would be different. Meghan should have bit her lips and waited for the old regime to change in her favor. I mean, talk about being able to be a rock star. She was amazing when she was in that itty bitty time when she was doing, the royal thing while she was pregnant, making these appearances, stepping into it, like, honestly, like she had done it before. And then all of a sudden it was like, I mean, you got to work, you got to and when I say work, that means you got to work on these relationships. Learn things from people like Sophie, learn things from Kate, have your arguments with your sister-in-law, but figure it out, So that's what I think. Let's see. Let me take a couple more comments and then we'll call it a night. Okay, I felt the same until it was explained to me what it would be like if he tried to take the kids. I believe a lot of people would protest the king. Yeah, Does he still have the right? He does have the right. I personally think it's like one of those old school laws, but I guess it makes sense if, let's say, William had gone crazy and like George, he needed to, maintain his relationship with George and have access to George, for the, I understand. But I feel like they don't stress it as much with the spare. I don't think it's as relevant. So the rule itself is a little, archaic. But I think what Woodstock is saying is true, that like it would PR wise look awful. And I think people from all different walks of life don't like to see somebody trying to take the kids away from the mother. I know that may sound sexist in a way, because Harry's the father and he would have rights to the kids as well. But I think what would have to happen is that they're going to have to make a very nice deal. When the divorce, it's going to have to be a really nice deal. And then Meghan would probably exploit that. I don't know. Or maybe she would be like, okay, that works for me. She was more liked, but there was a huge portion of the public that didn't like her. Yeah, well, it didn't take long for her to kind of show like, ooh. Okay, so Harry suing the rag sheets is a good thing. It should have been class action from the start. What the rags do in Britain is send it to America to make the lie real. And I have noticed, honestly, just since this past, I guess, year, it's been, well, I've kind of been more active on this ever since the Queen passed away. But it's like the British media have teeth. They're like piranhas. Like, I thought the US media was bad, but it's so dramatic. And so it's dramatic. But I also think that Harry and Meghan have also been using the very same weapon that the media has been using against them to use against the media and against the royal family. I feel like they're both like fencing. Okay, the US learned from their last international custody battle, they would go by the books even though the rules are old. Wait, what are you saying? Are you saying that they would go into or they would abide by US law over? I don't think it would happen. But I do think that the king is just heartbroken mainly about his lack of connection with his grandkids. I think that is the biggest pain for him, even more than Harry, is that he understands that he's getting older and he wants access to Archie and Lilibet, even if it's for, who wouldn't? That's what, that's what people kind of long for as they get older, is to be able to see, their legacy brought on. And I think probably, he just wants contact with them. And in America, there is this thing called elder abuse, and there's these grandparent laws, just so you know, they do exist. Okay, I totally agree with this take. Okay, the British media has dirt on King Charles and Camilla. That's why they are ruthless with the royals. They have dirt on everybody, all of them. I don't know what other dirt could there be with I know that there's rumors about possibly Charles. This is a crazy fringe idea, but Charles and Camilla having some other children. I don't think that's true. That is just alleged, but I'm trying to think of what other dirt could have to do something with Diana. I don't know. So, but I believe that's the case. Okay, I am going to call it a day. I had so much fun until like the doorbell was ringing out of the blue. But this is really fun, you guys. Let's see. I would like them to reconcile. Okay, one more question. If Harry and Meghan got a divorce, would Harry go back to the UK? We're all assuming that. Or would he stay in Montecito because he'd want to be near his kids? What do you guys, just chew on that. Get out of the US, Prince Harry. Maybe we'll leave on that note. I think a lot of people are feeling that way. The British and American, okay, one last thing. The British and American tabloids work in tandem. That needs to stop. Harry doesn't hate, nor does the royal family. They're just playing. They're really, honestly, they're playing Okay, I thought I was keeping them on there. Sorry, Mr. Gray Wolf. Yeah, I think they're all stuck in the media matrix. They can't, like, I have noticed that Harry can't stop. It's like this codependent addiction, you know. It's like none of them are like, fine, I'm just gonna stop playing the game. It's like they have to keep feeding the beast. And it's sad. About the young boy in Cuba. Well, that was a whole totally different thing. All right, I am going to say good night. Thank you guys. Have a great night, and please do subscribe and share, and we will talk to you soon, probably before or during the trooping of the color, because we're going to want to talk about that. So I'll at least by Saturday. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.